The Hyundai Elantra. It's a C-segment sedan with a B-segment price. It now has this funky new design. It's lost the turbocharged sport variant, but it is now much more attractively priced. At 109,000 ringgit, is this facelifted Hyundai Elantra sedan worth your consideration? Let's find out.
The overall design of the new Elantra is bold, with triangular headlights that eat into the cascading grille. There are even triangular indicators on the bumper to emphasize the angularity of the face. C-segment saloons tend to lack in design, with all the contenders sort of fading into each other. However, where the Honda Civic and Toyota Corolla Altis have both gotten far more aggressive in their latest iterations, so has the new Elantra. But even compared to those two, this thing sticks out like a bright Korean arrow. It does have a rather coupe-like roofline almost, as is de rigueur for modern cars, while the rear has things like sharper tail lights with geometrical patterns, as sharp as what was seen on the front. For shrinking violets, the Hyundai Elantra certainly is not, but overall it's hard to tell that this car is merely a refresh rather than an all-new model. Surely that's a good thing, right?
Now, as I said, the rear end of the Elantra has been cleaned up a little bit, and now the taillights have this nice geometric pattern to it, which I think looks really good. Now, the boot of the Elantra is pretty big. It's well over 400 litres, which means you can have plenty of your crap in there. You'll be able to fit all the luggage you need for a family of 5, no problem. But the reason why I'm doing this with the boot closed is because some reviewers have mistakenly claimed that this car doesn't have an external boot release. And admittedly, it's not immediately noticeable. There isn't a button or a key or anything of that sort. But I'll tell you a secret. To open the boot back here, see? And once it's open, you can see you have access to that lovely large boot that I was telling you about. And if you need more space, you can just pull the tabs here and here, and you can fold the rear seats 60-40. Inside the Elantra, the changes have not been quite so bold. So you still have the same dash design for the most part, but little bits have been cleaned up in here, which I quite like. You still have a couple of analog dials and a small TFT screen in the middle to provide driving data and that sort of thing. You still have a leather-wrapped stitch steering wheel, which is nice. You get leather seats with Elantra embroidered into them, which is kind of nice. But these are manually adjusted. I mean, it's 109 grand, you can't really complain, right? But one strong point of this car is its infotainment system. Now, hang on, let me try and get this running. Now, the infotainment system here, as you can very clearly see, the screen is high resolution. There's absolutely no lag to it whatsoever. It works really smoothly, there's no hesitation, and it also offers Apple CarPlay and Android Auto straight out of the box. And I can tell you that it connects like that. I've been using Android Auto on this thing since I've gotten it, and it's fabulous. Also, another point that I'd like to make is that the sound system in here is not bad. I mean, it's your bare bones basic 6-speaker audio system, but it's pretty good. I mean, not just for the price, it's actually good. So, it's pretty impressive in here. As for space, I mean, I'm pretty comfortable, obviously. There's a lot of adjustment in the steering wheel for both reach and rake, which is nice. The mirrors are decently large and they provide a decent amount of rearward visibility. And there are still automatic lights in here, which is always nice. Rear space, on the other hand, well, it's alright. I mean, it's not the best thing in the world, but it's alright. You're not going to get the sort of cavernous rear end space like you get in a Nissan Almera, for example, or indeed the cavernous amounts of room that the previous generation Nissan Sylphy afforded, but it's not bad. This is par for the course for a C-segment sedan, and we can't complain. Now, driving the Elantra is a particularly interesting thing. Now, I'm going to apologize now for the slightly weird video format and quality because, as you can see, it's raining. So we had to film in an empty car park, and now we have to drive around when it's dark. So I'm going to apologize for that right now. But let's get back to it. the Elantra is, as we said earlier, this is a car that's been built to a price. So 109,000 ringgit is pretty cheap for a C-segment saloon, because your Honda Civic, your Toyota Corolla Altis and all that kind of starts at a slightly higher price point than this car. So this is very much the price leader here. And admittedly, when you talk about interior quality, it does kind of show itself a little bit, like the scratchy plastics along the doors and stuff like that. It kind of betrays the fact that this car is kind of affordable, but there are some redeeming features. So for starters, we've got this 2-litre engine up front paired to a 6-speed automatic gearbox in the middle. And I have to say, I can't remember the last time I drove a car that was affordably positioned on the market that had an engine this smooth. You barely hear it during day-to-day operation. It only becomes vocal when you floor it, and you won't be doing that very often. It's so smooth and it's so quiet. You have absolutely no vibrations that come through the cabin, and it's also very efficient. So for example, I mean, right now it says I'm doing 7.9 litres per 100 kilometers. I've also been pottering around doing B-roll, but when I've been driving this car around, it's very easy to get about 6.6, 6.7 litres per 100 kilometers. And operation of the car, if we were to put it that way, is pretty easy. The steering wheel is relatively light at slow speeds and it weights up nicely at higher speeds. The car itself is very stable. It's, as I said, very quiet. You don't hear a lot of the engine and you don't hear a lot of the tires. This car is equipped with Goodyear tires and they are very grippy and very quiet, which I quite like. But there is one major thing about this car that you absolutely have to know about before you buy it, and that is this car is surprisingly good to drive. Now, a while ago, Hyundai hired a man from BMW M's division named Albert Biermann. Now, Mr. Biermann is one of those people who believe in solid mechanical engineering contributing to a fun drive. He's not one of those people who are about this electronic, that fakery, and this and that the other. He's all about good, solid mechanical engineering. And personally, I feel like this car has greatly benefited from that input, because yes, we know that it's not the punchiest thing on the planet. This isn't the sport model with a turbocharger, nothing of that sort. It's the bare bones model with a 2-litre NA engine with a 6-speed automatic gearbox. It's not meant to set your heart on fire, but honestly, it's really stable and it's surprisingly chuckable. The suspension and the chassis have been tuned together to provide a surprisingly talkative and communicative experience, which means that you can drive this thing on B roads and carry decent speed and feel pretty confident about it. And of course, helping to that are those Goodyear tires I mentioned earlier, because not only are they very quiet, but they're also very grippy, and I quite like that. If I'm honest, when I approached this car, when I picked it up, I didn't expect to like it very much. You see, right before this, I drove the Hyundai Santa Fe in full-fat 2.2-litre turbo diesel premium form, with all the bells and whistles, with the leather dash and the red leather upholstery and the Alcantara headliner. And I basically went from the top of the line to the entry-level model. And I expect to get in here and grumble and be annoyed and stuff like that. And yes, admittedly, having manual seats, for example, does kind of do my head in a bit, and the lack of cruise control. But now that I've had a bit of time to live with the car, to understand it a bit better, I like the geometrical design that it has. I think it's kind of cool now. I like the fact that this interior is so simple, because it means that there are fewer things to break. I like the fact that everything works exactly as you expect it to. This car doesn't break the boundaries. It doesn't arrive with some newfangled innovation that'll blow your mind. Instead, what it does is collect a bunch of features and aspects and characteristics that people like in a car and execute them really, really well. I am genuinely astonished by how much I like this car, and it is a very easy car to recommend. If you have 110,000 ringgit burning a hole in your pocket and you absolutely need a C-segment saloon with C-segment cabin space and C-segment boot space and a C-segment drive, and and you want something that's safe and comfy, that can bring you long distance and pack your whole family in it, really, the Hyundai Elantra is worth your time and money. I didn't expect to be saying that. I'm really surprised, I'm genuinely astonished. I really like this car. And in fact, if you see me in a couple of months driving around in it, well, I told you so, didn't I? That concludes our review of the Hyundai Elantra. If you like this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, hit the little bell icon so that you're notified every time we make a new upload. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook at Malaysian Motoring, or follow me at Aiman I Abdullah both on Instagram and Twitter. If you have any questions about cars, about the industry, about anything at large, just ask. We are always just one click away. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next video.